Hello everyone, this is Yoko. In this channel, I will be sharing information in English that I have gathered myself because events happening in China often do not get reported in other countries. I collect information from various media sources, so I would appreciate your comments on the content of the videos. If you enjoy what you see, please subscribe to the channel and show your support. Recently, I made a video about Evergrande Group, and there might be some questions about when real estate developers pay fees when leasing land from local governments. So, I would like to explain that. This is closely related to the current issues in China and is a very important point. Real estate development in China begins with leasing land from local governments, which involves huge amounts of money. However, real estate developers often borrow money to build apartments along the way and then recover the funds by selling them. Therefore, some may wonder if the money for leasing the land is paid to the government later. If so, it would not lead to the current serious situation. In reality, payment is often made upfront when leasing the land, but this often comes from loans. Therefore, Chinese real estate developers initially borrow vast sums of money, and then when they start development, huge amounts flow to the local government. From the perspective of local governments, it's crucial to secure a large sum of money when real estate development begins. Therefore, regardless of the imbalance between supply and demand, real estate development takes place extensively across China. Essentially, local governments only lease the land to receive money, and it's not their own land. However, since Chinese land is controlled by the Communist Party, the party can easily give land to real estate developers and obtain huge amounts of money. Therefore, the Communist Party government facilitates real estate developers' fundraising by allowing them to borrow money from banks or from shadow banking channels like peer-to-peer lending at times. However, as the balance of supply and demand continues to be disrupted in China, it eventually causes problems for the banks. In such a situation, without burdening the banks, the government might supply funds to the real estate industry from the general public through shadow banking. This perpetuates the system. If the system were built differently, requiring real estate developers to pay for land use rights from the profits gained after completing and selling all developments, financially unviable real estate projects wouldn't have proliferated infinitely. Consequently, the economy wouldn't have been excessively reliant on real estate. However, because vast amounts of money come in simply by leasing out land, the Communist Party profits with minimal effort, ultimately creating a system where many suffer and few become truly wealthy. When asked what real estate development entails in China, it increasingly involves real estate developers borrowing money from various sources, with that money flowing into the coffers of local governments as land lease fees. So, what happens to that money? First, asking whether local governments utilize that money for the region's prosperity would likely yield a negative answer. This is the current issue. So, what happens to that money? It's safe to say it lines the pockets of influential individuals within local governments. Even local government officials in China can come into possession of hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars. Corruption is not uncommon in China, with Communist Party officials being implicated in embezzlement almost every year, with staggering amounts involved. If that money circulated among the general populace, Chinese purchasing power would have improved, and the domestic economy would have been more vibrant. However, that ultimately didn't happen. This is just one characteristic of Chinese society. The reason for this is not so much because the Communist Party holds power, but rather because China has historically had significant wealth disparities, with those who control society wielding immense power. It's evident that injecting more money into the hands of the general populace would stimulate the overall economy, but those who actually possess wealth only think about themselves. In other words, they aren't considering the broader society or economy of China. Consequently, they are unwilling to relinquish the wealth they've acquired. Therefore, the domestic economy of China becomes extremely fragile. This has been a long-standing characteristic of Chinese society, and even with changes in leadership to the Communist Party, this aspect has remained unchanged. Therefore, the real estate issue in China arises from the Communist Party holding vast vested interests in the funds flowing into real estate development. While these Communist Party interests may be diminishing in the real estate sector, it's not entirely accurate to ask if Communist Party interests will completely disappear. The organization simply generates other interests. Publicly, it's said to be for the interests of the nation or environmental protection, but in reality, it's targeting personal gain. Therefore, closely observing China is crucial because there may be significant disparities between what they say and what they do. For example, while claiming to focus on electric vehicles to reduce CO2 emissions, China's power generation still heavily relies on fossil fuels such as coal and oil, with no true intention to reduce their use in the future. That's all for this discussion. Until next time.